President Donald Trump, my president. The president's record on African American employment and poverty. African America, Is You Crazy? By Prophet Aaron Harley. African American, is you crazy? Despite all the racist chatter, the Reverend Jesse Jackson heaped tons of effective praise upon Donald Trump at his 1998 Rainbow Push Coalition Wall Street Project Conference in New York. There is simple no way even Reverend Jesse Jackson can explain away Jackson's high regard for Donald Trump other than he's Republican. African American, is you crazy? The Reverend Al Sharpton cozy up to Trump quite a bit in the 1980s and beyond. They had mutual business dealings together that seemed to be based on each of their personal agendas. They each had something that the other wanted and needed, and struck deals based on their set of mutual interests. African American, is you crazy? Now that Donald Trump is Republican and Al Sharpton is Democrat, they parted their ways. Trump both raised funds and contributed thousands of dollars to Sharpton-backed causes over the years. African American, all of these are documented facts. These are not opinions, but facts that can easily be Googled. African American, is you crazy? Even Oprah Winfrey got in on the act. She and Trump were known to have socialized together on occasions, according to the magazine of the rich and the famous. African American, is you crazy? African American, with all this information that is being hidden from you, even though it's in plain sight, because you one of those African Americans that only believe what you hear from those that are trying to control your mind. African American, do you realize that they intentionally hide these things from you? You need someone like myself to help open up that which is closed in your mind and make it clear. Easy to be understood, easy to be found. In other words, after you listen to this, you can go back and you can Google all of this information and see this is not an opinion, but a fact. You know, Trump has consistently been who he is for all of these many years. He's not a man that has changed his personality, changed the way he talked to people. He's been consistent. The people that have changed are the people that he used to deal with before he even became president. These African Americans, that the ones like I just mentioned by name, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Oprah, they want you to believe that they even never associated with the president. You remember when he had all of those casinos? Nobody at those times called them racist. Not when you was going to one of the Trump's casinos. Do you realize when he had all of those casinos and he was in that type of business before he became president, that Donald Trump was one of the biggest boxing promoters in the world? Do you know he flew them people all around in his private jets, his helicopters? How about when he invited them to his TV show, The Apprentice? You know, African Americans are amazing. African American, is you crazy? So the question that I have to ask African Americans and white liberals is this. When did Donald Trump suddenly become a racist? Was it before he entered the world of politics? When he was branded as the life of the party? Now that he is president, all of a sudden, they branded him racist. African American? What gives here? So, I go back to my story here. African American, is you crazy? Bill and Hillary Clinton were personal guests at Trump's wedding with Melania in 2005 at Mar-a-Lago. Trump's private members only club in Palm Beach, Florida. Let me give you some other notables that was wedding guests of Donald Trump. How about Shaq O'Neal, Anna Wintour, Simon Cowell, Kelly Ripa, Katie Couric, Russell Simmons. Don't you see how African Americans change by being told to? Come on, African Americans, wake up. African Americans, for a racist, Trump seemed to have a very electorate group of friends from all walks of life, especially a lot of African Americans. Like yourself. African American, is you crazy? An interesting point of the fact is that Mar-a-Lago is located in Palm Beach, Florida, one of the wealthiest communities in the United States. Two of Mar-a-Lago's competitors, the Palm Beach Bath and the tennis club in the Everglades Club, have notoriously refused to admit blacks. This is taken from the Miami News Times when they reported that back in the day, Sammy Davis Jr., they kicked him out of the Everglades Club because he was black and Jewish. And in comparison, according to thecomplex.com, a listicle of the 25 most outrageous exclusive social clubs in America, Trump's Mar-a-Lago club doesn't discriminate against anyone who can afford the initiation fee, and the annual dues. African American, is you crazy? In 1996, Trump filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court in Palm Beach, alleging that the town was discriminating against Mar-a-Lago, in part because of what? It was open to Jews and African Americans. African American, answer this question. When did Trump become a racist? You believe everything the white man wants you to believe, and you eat their lies and deception like you eating out now on what's in your food because you didn't prepare it. African American, is you crazy? Trump's administration created almost 4 million jobs since the 2016 election. Many of them opportunities for African Americans. African American, is you crazy? More African Americans were employed than ever recorded before in our history before the China virus. African American, is you crazy? Trump administration created more than 400,000 manufacturing jobs since being elected. Manufacturing jobs are growing at the fastest rate in more than 3 decades. opening up opportunities for African Americans in the manufacturing sectors like never before in the history of America. African American, is you crazy? Medium income, household income that is, for African Americans has hit the highest level ever recorded in the history of the African American race. African American, is you crazy? African American unemployment recently achieved the lowest rate ever recorded before the coronavirus. African American, is you crazy? African American youth unemployment also hit the lowest rate ever recorded. African American, is you crazy? Lowest unemployment rate ever recorded for African Americans without, are y'all ready for this? A high school diploma. In other words, African Americans that don't even graduate from high school are getting jobs under Donald Trump. African American, is you crazy? Under Trump's administration, African American veterans unemployment recently reached its lowest rate in nearly 20 years. African American, is you crazy? Donald Trump got more blacks off of food stamps into the working force than any other president or the administration. Almost 3.9 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps since the election. African American, is you crazy? Donald Trump got more blacks off of welfare than any other president or the administration. And African America, did you know that is more than what the black president Barack Obama did for his own people? African American, is you crazy? Donald Trump got close to 3,000 black brothers out of jail, as well as helping them become employed citizens back into society. African American, is you crazy? Donald Trump got school vouchers for black students to go to better schools of their own choosing. African American, is you crazy? The pledge to American workers has resulted in employers committing to train more than 4 million Americans. President Trump is committed to vocational education, which used to be one of the biggest way for employment for African Americans. African American, is you crazy? 95% of U.S. factors are optimistic about the future, the highest ever. Do you realize how many U.S. manufacturers are now owned by African Americans? African American, is you crazy? Donald Trump signed the biggest package of tax cuts and reforms in history. After the tax cuts, over $300 billion poured back into the U.S. in the first quarter alone. African Americans, do you have any idea how much money was flowing into African American communities? African Americans, is you crazy? As a result of Trump's tax bill, small businesses will have the lowest top marginal tax rate in more than 80 years. African Americans in small business rechannel most of this money back into their businesses. African Americans, is you crazy? a record number of regulations eliminated that save African American taxpayers millions of dollars. African American, is you crazy? Trump's administration enacted regulatory relief for communities, banks, and credit unions. This resulted in the banks investing in African American communities and businesses through loans and grants. African American, is you crazy? Obamacare, individual mandate penalty, is gone. Do you have any idea how many African Americans that were low wage earners suffer with the mandated penalty? African American, is you crazy? Trump administration is providing more affordable health care options for African Americans through association health plans and short-term duration plans. African American, is you crazy? Trump withdrew the United States from the job-killing Paris Climate Accord. This opened the door for more jobs for African Americans. African American, is you crazy? Trump canceled the illegal anti-coal so-called Clean Power Plan. Open door for African Americans living and working in the coal regions. African American, is you crazy? Thanks to President Trump, NATO allies are spending $69 billion more on defense since 2016. Do you realize that 48% of the military consists of African Americans? African American, is you crazy? I'm not. I'm voting for Donald Trump in 2020.